Member for Vancouver Fairview.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I see we're well entrenched now in a pre-election regime of alternate facts, and if my friend, the member from Vernon-Monashee, had actually read the opposition's Clean Growth Climate Action Plan instead of simply the script that was placed before him this morning, he probably would have had a hard time getting some of the words that he spoke out of his mouth. So let's address, Honourable Speaker, the issues one by one. The issue of revenue neutrality. British Columbians don't believe the carbon tax is revenue neutral. You can ask anyone on the street or at a gas pump, does the carbon tax feel revenue neutral to you? And their answer will be no. And the answer is because they're paying more and getting less under this Liberal government and this Premier. So let's look at the nature of the tax cuts that this government has associated with the carbon tax. This government currently gives almost twice as much in corporate and business tax cuts associated with the carbon tax than in personal income tax reduction. People are paying more and getting less. Let's look at the next so-called fact from the member for Vernon-Monashee, or the Communications Department of the government. The member says that we have alternately planned to bring in $10 a year carbon tax forever, or that we're raising the carbon tax to $50 by 2022. Well, it's not our plan, Honourable Speaker. The federal government has said provinces will get their carbon tax to $50 a tonne by 2022, or the federal government will do it for them. So what we're doing, Honourable Speaker, is putting a clear climate action plan and clean growth plan in front of British Columbian families and British Columbian businesses, so people have stability and predictability, and they know exactly what's coming. Further to that, Honourable Speaker, we have said, unlike this government, that we will give a tax rebate to 80% of British Columbian families on top of the personal income tax cuts, which they currently enjoy. That's double what people get in rebates from this government. Most people, Honourable Speaker, under our plan will be better off under a rising tax than they are today under the carbon tax that this government brought in a few years ago and now seems to want to disavow. Almost half of British Columbians will get more back in a rebate than they pay in the tax. Our tax will put more money in families' pockets, plain and simple. So let me move on to the claim, Honourable Speaker, that we are going to reward Lower Mainland so-called pet projects at the expense of the rest of the province. That's simply not true, Honourable Speaker. After we give the rebates, we intend to invest in energy efficiency in every community around British Columbia, creating good, skilled, high-paid jobs that will keep families together, and young people will have a future in every community in British Columbia. Transit investments in the Lower Mainland, as well as other parts of British Columbia, benefit the entire economy because congestion in Metro Vancouver is costing the ability of resource industries to move their product to the port to the tune of over $1 billion a year. We have an infrastructure deficit. Honourable Speaker, in March 6, 2016, there was a poll which asked British Columbians about what use an increased carbon tax should be put to and what did they support the most. 22% said infrastructure, 20% said research and development and clean technology, 19% had said a dividend, and only 16% said cutting taxes. So, Honourable Speaker, in the opposition, we listened to British Columbians. We listened to what the federal government said was going to happen to British Columbia, whether or not the Premier wants to pretend it won't, and we brought in a plan that will build jobs, that will support middle and low-income families in British Columbia, and it will cut carbon pollution, not stand by while it continues to rise. In short, Honourable Speaker, better for families, better for the economy, better for climate, better for our future. What do we get from the BC Liberals in this government? We get pretense that they somehow have a veto over a carbon tax that's coming when the Prime Minister and the Federal Environment Minister have clearly said they do not know what our Premier is talking about. So we're telling business what's coming, we're telling families what's coming, and we'll make life better for them.
Thank you, member.